Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to SKG Pro Series. We're back, ladies and gentlemen, for another season of the Pro Series. Today, we have the qualifiers here at Brazil. So it's going to be all the teams, 21 teams, fighting out to qualify for the SKG Pro Series this season. I'm Owen Baldero, and I will be taking you through not only the qualifiers today, but also a lot of this season, so I'm looking forward to jumping back in after an eventful end to last season. It was, well, the final race at Abu Dhabi was an absolute cracker. We, of course, had that late safety car, and it was TRT who came out on top, winning the Teams Championship, and they have automatically qualified from that alone. So it's going to be very, very interesting season. And today's qualifiers will take place here at Brazil, ladies and gentlemen. We have 15 corners and a refreshed system for the 2026 cars. 2 active aero zones, 2.6 miles of racing action. It's going to be 5 lobbies of qualifying sessions, ladies and gentlemen. So let's get ready to dive in, as here we go to the racing action. We will go. As you can see, the teams we have are TRT, ET8, VRM, and VLS in this first session of the stream. So let's go and let's see how this goes. As now Zach Styler we're on board with, but he has the 2 VRMs of Jeremy Galonia and Killian Borien just ahead of him. Let's see. And then the 2 RBs as well. They're all coming out in tandem. Slipstream has been banned, so that is something that these drivers are going to have to contend with and be wary of, because with no slipstream, that can play some games. So, let's see. Hopefully, sound is all okay. I think I'm just going to ever so slightly bring game audio down a little bit in comparison to my voice. There we go. Okay. So, let's go. It's Zen, because TRT auto-queued. Okay. I thought TRT had auto-queued, so when I saw Zach Styler there, I was like, But yeah. Okay then. Here we go then. First laps of the session, Claudio Diaz first on to the track of today's qualifiers. Into turn 1 he goes, flicking his way through turn 2, using now onto the battery power, which is going to drain it quite significantly all the way down towards turn number 4, and then you're going to be braking now down to 4th gear, flick it in, flicking still the meta for these 2026 cars. That is something that cannot be patched due to F125's design, and then just a downshift through the right-hander, draining your battery. And now this is the section where you can recharge a nice little bit of battery, as Sinan has actually left the session for ET8 there, so he is going to need to get back into the lobby. Luckily, with Panos being host, it's relatively easy to get back in, because you can just join off of him on Steam. There's now to the straight mode detection zone. That's not going to play a role particularly. But here we go now towards the line with Claudio Diaz draining that battery all the way to the end. And it's a 107. 7-4-1 for the first lap of the session. His teammate Salva Olmedo has invalidated, as now the Red Bull of Jeremy Galonia will set the next representative time to 107.859. What about Killian Borien? Zach Styler with 107.660. Now Killian Borien to the line, 108.246. That's 4 tenths off his teammate, so he's going to need a little better than that, because, ladies and gentlemen, how qualifying is calculated in this in these qualifiers is it's based on your average time. So you and your teammates' time is put together, and then you and then we get the average time. We get an average time between the teams. I believe it's the fastest 11 teams. Sorry, fastest 10, because of course TRT have already qualified for this season. As a big snap of oversteer for OSK. I'm not too sure how to say that name. I'm just going to say Zik, or Zeke. No, I'm just going to say OSK. I'm not too sure how you would pronounce that, so I'm just going to say OSK. By the way, J. Carroll, how you doing? Here we go then. OSK was on a lap, but he is invalidated, of course, as now Salva Olmedo comes back out onto the track after invalidating his first attempt of the session. As yet, we got a bot in the chat. If there are any SKG admins, can we get rid of that? But anyway, Tubi now out on the track as well. We've got 2 people on track. Slipstream is banned, so you can't play any games like that. You can't. So Salva Olmedo and Tubi couldn't bring their teammates out at a perfect time to give them a slipstream. That's something that's not possible due to it being banned. As I'm actually going to bring the game audio up a touch. There we go. Okay, here we go then. Salva Olmedo on his first lap of the session into turn 1. Slightly less aggressive than other drivers we have seen, but now draining that battery pack all the way, sticking as tight to the turn 3 curb as he physically can. Now towards turn 4, braking, spotting the 100-meter board, and then down to 4th gear, and now just back on that battery, using a little bit more, down to about 20%, and now you're going to be on none mode from this next corner for a little while. An opportunity to gain back a little bit of battery that you lost, which he is doing so. It's a relatively easy circuit in terms of battery management, one where it's got some really nice braking zones for you to recharge your battery. Salva Olmedo doing that well at the moment. It's 51.786 purple to the middle sector according to the game, but as we know, you can't always trust the F125 Delta system. But now to the line comes Salva Olmedo, the VLS driver, 107.823. Third fastest at the moment, so him and his teammate separated by 0.08 of a second. So currently their average is looking pretty strong because they are separated by less than 1/10 of a second. They will have an average in the 0.7s as things stand. Jeremy Galonia on his next lap here. But watch out for OSK in the Mercedes in the TRT. No, sorry, it's not TRT. Watch out for OSK because he validated his previous lap time, and they are one of only 2 teams to not have both drivers with a time on the board at the moment, and Jeremy Galonia has invalidated that lap time as well. We now move to Kilian Borian, who was ever so slightly up on lap time in that first section of the track. Red Bull making its way through the middle sector here in Sao Paulo. But as he invalidates there, fortunately for him, just took a little bit too much curb and invalidated that effort there. So both the RMs invalidating their times. OSK also an invalid lap time. But what about Zach Styler here? As he now guns it to the line. He's going to peel into the pits actually before he completes it, and that is the end of his run for now. So what do the 2 Red Bulls do? Jeremy Galonia carries on to go for another lap here, sticking tighter to that left-hand side than other drivers, and now towards the first sector split. He is 1,000ths down on his previous best, and he invalidates again there. So VRM really not having any luck in this session, ladies and gentlemen. They are really struggling to put those good times on the board, as are OSK and ET8 Sinan as well, who I believe has not rejoined the session. If I am remembering correctly, he has still not rejoined the session. All drivers into the pit lane now, and we've just got that little bit of lull, that little bit of calm amongst the storm. As I say that, 2 drivers pouring out of the pit lane. I believe that is going to be Tsubi and Claudio Diaz. We will see. Well, it was a Racing Bull, but which one was it? There we go. Yes, it was indeed Tsubi coming out of the pit lane there. As Salva Olmedo as well, and Claudio Diaz, all 3 coming out of the pits to start their next laps of the session. Yes, it is the first session. Searing, yes, it is the first session of today's stream. So, there is still 4 more sessions after this to bring to you here in the SKG Pro Series, with round 1 coming up next week. Next week is going to be round 1. Then from there, it's going to be a very, very interesting season. Can TRT defend their title in this one, or will it be a case of a new team coming along and breaking the streak for TRT? Now, Claudio Diaz was 700ths of a second up there in the first sector, and purple, and still pushing, and still got a decent chunk of battery left, actually, a little bit more, I think, than some other drivers had going through this section, potentially, as now Claudio Diaz pushing through out to the middle sector split. He's a 10.5 up. He's finding the time that he needs to put that VLS on to fastest in this session, but also get that average lap time between him and his teammate as low as they physically can. Up to the line comes Diaz. It's a 107.595, first into the 107.5s of the session. What about his teammate? Well, his teammate's not going to be going faster on this lap, at least. Zach Styler now coming up to start his next of the session. 6.5 minutes to go here in the first session at Sao Paulo. And Styler needs a little bit more to go fastest, and he's finding it. A 10th of a second up in the first sector is a serious game, because that is a very, very short sector, and he is finding the time that he needs to. It looks like he may come up on a little bit of slowed traffic. Potentially, he may end up actually getting a slipstream off that, which I'm not sure in that case how that works. I don't think he's quite gonna hit it. No, he's not. He's okay. AJ Carroll says or a lap. I believe that's for looking at Claudio Diaz's lap. Yes, it was. But is Zach Styler about to go even faster than that as he carries on to the line? It's going to be a 107.556, 400ths faster than the VLS. And Styler puts that Mercedes into the fastest time of the session. Very, very strong there. Now Jeremy Galonia through here. How is he doing? Can't quite see at the moment, but OSK set a lap time, but it was not a representative one. But it does appear that this one will be representative. As up to the line comes OSK at a 107.974, and Sinan has left the session again. There is clearly some connection for him here in this one, because otherwise he needs a little bit more than that, because his teammate has a very, very strong time, and the average lap time between you and your teammate is so important, because that is how you qualify, of course. So lobby 1, so it's Phoenix So Xenix at the moment a little bit more, because of course all time count. But now let's move to Tubi. Oh, sorry if you heard that. That was an awful noise. That was my headphones going a little bit too close to my microphone. I will not be doing that again. That was a horrendous noise. But anyway, these are probably going to be final couple of laps of the session, if I had to guess. I mean, Claudio Diaz, where he is on track, he probably has time for a push, cool push, probably. He's got 3 minutes on the clock, so yeah, he'll have time to do a push, cool push in this one quite comfortably, as will Kachubi, and probably even Killian Borian will have time to do a push, cool push. Double out that maybe. Yes, it could be a double as well. You're right. Yeah, they could be doing double out lap. We'll see. It doesn't appear to be a double out lap from Claudio Diaz. It looks like he is pushing, and the numbers show he is. He's 200ths of a second up on his current 107.595, which is 39 thousandths off of Zach Styler for Xenix there. So he is pushing at the moment to try and get himself into, get his time even lower, I suppose is the best way to put it, and hopefully his teammate will respond for their sakes. His teammate will respond with something a little bit faster. You have so much fuel this game, so expect most to do double out laps. Yeah, that's true. Fuel is much higher. Push cool push is definitely not the way to go. Right, okay, fair enough then. Like I say, I am just a commentator. These are the technicalities, are not so much my thing. But Claudio Diaz puts in a 107.562, not quite faster than Zach Styler, and he's 6 thousandths off, but he is he's pretty close. Tachubi has backed off, it looks like. What about Salva Olmedo with VLS? He's a 10.5 up, and he has a absolute chunk of battery to play with through this section. Here we go, up to the line. He's already getting low. It shows you how fast the battery drains in this game, but up to the line comes Salva Olmedo. That's a 107.681. VLS look to have a very strong average at the moment between their two drivers. They are probably somewhere around a low 0.6, a 107.6 at the moment on their average, if I had to guess, as now Tachubi begins his final one of the session. Zach Styler now 18 thousandths up, or down, sorry, on his previous best. VLS look very strong. Yes, they do. They've got two very consistent drivers, it looks like, in this session. What about Zach Styler? What is he doing? And even more importantly, for Xenix, what is OSK doing through this middle, for this first part of the lap, as his teammate makes his way through the final part? He's 1,000ths of a second up. He needs more than that. What about Zach Styler? 65 hundredths of a second up. He is absolutely flying. It's going to be into the 0.4s. No, it's not actually. He lost a bit in the final sector. It's a 107.536. And what about Claudio Diaz here? It looks like he's going push, cool push, and he's 400ths of a second up. So he is doing a push, cool push. Most people thought they'd do double out laps. Claudio Diaz going against the norm there, as now Jeremy Galonia was 3 thousandths of a second up. Salva Olmedo, as Sinan has finished. But what about OSK? What is he doing through this section? Up to the line comes OSK, the 107.864. Little better for him there, but still a few tenths off his teammate there, as Tachubi peeling off the track. That's going to be his session done. Salva Olmedo is also looking to be done. Zach Styler not pushing. So what about Claudio Diaz? 2/10 of a second up in the middle sector. Absolutely fantastic work. Up to the line, 107.371. Fantastic from the VLS to take the fastest time of the session. And I think it's fair to say now, ladies and gentlemen, that VLS probably will have the best time of the session. So push, call, push really worked for Claudio Diaz there. What a lap time from him. Salvo Romero now up to the line. It's going to be a 107.7. He didn't go quite faster, but his teammate has put in a hell of a lap time there. Jeremy Galonia at the end, by the way, got up to third place, and that is the end of the first session. That's a mega lap. Yeah, you're right, Searing. That is a fantastic time. 107.3 is fantastic work from Claudio Diaz, and I think it's fair to say VLS will definitely have the best average in this session. And that's a very strong start for them to the session. They're doing the best laps I'd do on the last game. Yeah, these cars are much slower. I was around a sort of 107.5 at Brazil in session. So yeah, these cars are significantly slower than the previous gen, but with the engine changes coming, they will get faster. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Final times of the session. Claudio Diaz putting the fastest time of the session in. Zach Styler for Xenix in second. Jeremy Galonia for VRM in third. Claudio Diaz's VLS teammate of Salva Olmedo there in fourth. Tachubi in fifth. OSK in sixth. Killian Borian in seventh. And then ET8 Senan did not put a time in. So I think it's fair to say probably, unless a team doesn't turn up, that ET8 will not have a incredibly strong average. But yeah, that was one hell of a session, ladies and gentlemen. That was fantastic. A mega lap time at the end there. But ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a short break, and we will back to bring you the next session in a few moments' time. Don't go anywhere. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are back and ready to go for another session. Session number 2 coming your way. We have 6 drivers ready to go in this session. And for this next one, it will be, ladies and gentlemen, FCT, Forza Club Touring, VMV Esports, WLR Esports, and then there is no team number 4, just those 3 for this session, ladies and gentlemen. So here we go. Let's head trackside as we begin qualifying, ladies and gentlemen. This is it then. We have we have 3 teams here for this session, and we have FCT in the Red Bull, WRL in the Mercedes, and then VMV in the Ferrari incoming. As there is actually a live Google form, or Google Sheet, sorry, which is being updated with all of the times and etc, etc, which I will bring you after this session. Hopefully we will get a clear idea of how teams are running after this session. I would try and load it now, but if I do that, it will go into the menu screen on F1, which so unfortunately cannot do that. As I also did realise that I think the music stopped looping, so that's something I'm going to have to try and fix for the next one. That's now these 3 drivers, the 2 FCTs and the Ferrari of Leo, BMV of Leo, all together on track at the moment, so they're going to have to drop back from each other ever so slightly, because as we've said many a time, slipstream is banned here today. Okay then, let's go on board with FCT Strees. It will be the first take us through a lap in this second lobby of the SKG Pro Series Season 2 qualifiers. Here we go then. Into turn number 1. FCT Streets from here. Just put a banker lap down for now. Is going to be the mission for him. Julian saying, let's go my goats. Who are you cheering for then, Julian? Let us know in the chat. Who are you cheering for in this session? As I actually need to get all of the data up. I realised I hadn't done that just yet. That's all we need for now. And we hide that. There we go. Okay. So Strees on this first lap through here. Going to be regaining a little bit of battery. Got a little bit unstable there on the exit. Had to ever so slightly get off the power on the corner exit there, and again just ever so slightly sliding through the corner. So Strees maybe struggling ever so slightly. 51.788 there for the middle sector split. And up to the line he will go, draining the rest of his battery. A fairly decent amount left to go as now he hits 0 up to the line. It's going to be a 107.926 for the first of the session. His teammate Lucas hasn't validated. So what about MV Leo? 108.248 there. He's a WRL. He's comes into the pits, and then VMV Kart puts in a 108.2. And now what about Lucas MS for FCT? What can he do in this one here? WRL Luke puts in a 108.084. FCT Lucas in the first sector of 17.2 there, so not too bad at the moment. Now we're going to roll through just a downshift, 2 downshifts actually, going for a double downshift. Not many people opt for that option. Now he will go on board with Lucas MS. Oh, that's a big snap of oversteer. That's going to be scrubbing a couple of tenths of a second off his time. That's a 52.0. He's about 2 tenths off of his teammate at the moment. So he's going to be coming in at around VMV Kart's time. As things stand, as up to the line, he will go The lights on his wing mirrors flashing up to the lines of 108.276. Slowest of those that have set a time so far in 5th place there. Now, that is everybody who was on a lap, has done a lap. And now wait for Hisa to set his first of the session. He is the only one yet to set a time. So we'll see what he is capable of in the next few moments. Now here we go, on board with WRL Hisa then. Let's see what he can do. Hisalian, is that how that is pronounced? Hisalian? I don't know. Anyway, I'm just going to say WRL Hisa for now. As now through turn 1 he will go on that battery, draining it as far as he can, using all the way down this straight 17.332. That's a long ways off from the best we've seen so far, and he invalidates his time. Just got it over a little bit too far over the curb there, and invalidates his time, unfortunately for him. So that is not going to count. Track limits catching more than a few people out at turn number 4 so far today. So he is, if he's got enough fuel to do another lap, he may go for another lap. But if he hasn't, then he will be into the pit lane for some more fuel. He's probably, I wonder if he's used 2 sets of tyres already. I would presume he's still on his first, but I'm not too sure. As yes, he will continue on to do another lap. He's gonna do it, so he does have enough fuel to do that. Now through he will go. Using too much battery through there, saving the pack for this section as he absolutely burns the battery. Now towards turn number 4, 17.3 once again. Let's see, how do others use the battery? So how do they use it towards the line? They do use. Yeah, they get back. Okay, they get back up to 100. I see. I wasn't sure how much because Hisa, when I looked, was on 100%. I wasn't too sure how much he was using in comparison to others. As FC Strees puts in a 107.792, still 4 attempts off the best we have seen so far today from VLS. Now up to 1 again. There's a 14.4. That's not representative. As things stand, is this gonna be representative? As no, he invalidates once again. WRL Hisa is having a trying time, let's say. He's not having the best of times, I think it's fair to say. He's going to push now just to get onto another set of tyres. I think he'll be into the pits in a moment, and from there we'll see what happens. As VMV Leo, by the way, putting on 108.0, as does now his teammate VMV Kart, who goes onto a 108.067. As now, let's go to WRL Luke, who has invalidated. What about FCT Lucas? Over 2.5 attempts up on his best, potentially breaking into the 107.9. Up to the line. He comes, not quite, it's a 108.143. Lost a chunk of time through that final sector. I dreaded saying it. I knew someone was going to say it, and it just turned out to be TRT Max that was the one that brought it up there. I knew as soon as I read the MV Kart's lap time that somebody was going to say it. But anyway, now let's go to is WR Luke going to go for another? No, he's not. He's got no battery, so he's going to need to pits. Nor has VMV Kart. Lucas is not on a lap, I don't believe, so no one pushing at the moment, and that, ladies and gentlemen, is it for the second runs at the moment. And it's all on WRL to get this done now. BMV will have a very, very good average between them at the moment in comparison to the other teams, because their drivers are so close together, split by 300ths of a second, so then their average is probably only going to change by 15 thousandths, if maybe a little bit more. So at the moment, VMV in a good position, but of course, is that going to be enough to qualify them? We will see. We'll wait once the race is over, or not race, sorry. Once the qualifiers are over, we'll wait a few moments in the stream, and then we will try, hopefully, and bring you the final results of who has qualified, who has not qualified. Mahisa does come out of the pits for another go. He's going to need something a little bit more special than this in order to potentially get through to the Pro Series with his WRL teammate, WRL teammate of Luke. I nearly said WR then. He's going to be the first of those for these probably penultimate runs. Most PB overall a good lap, but Diaz did. Claudio Diaz did a .371. It's that was a incredible time, simply put. As now easily towards the line. Here we go. Through turn 1, it doesn't invalidate this time, because now he's going to be able to be careful towards turn 4. Not a full foul. To it once again. And he's 200ths of a second up on his best, and there's still plenty of time to find. He doesn't invalidate this time, so he will get that. He will get an improvement in as long as he can keep the rest of the lap valid, because a 14.420 is not going to be representative of what him as a driver can do. We'll see. Now make way towards turn number 11. Long swooping left-hander up to the split. 51.8, that's relatively competitive actually in comparison to the rest of the field. So here we go, we will see he's now on the battery, draining the rest of his pack, and maybe not quite got enough battery here as up to the line. He will go now, and it's going to be a 107.901. So that is much better from WRL. He's puts himself into the second fastest lap of the session. WRL Luke was 0.2 of a second up, but has invalidated Lucas MS 14 thousandths down with previous best. Strees 400, nearly half a tenth, not half a second, half a tenth up on that 107.792 that he currently sits with. Let's see what he can do through this middle part of the lap. He's got about 50% battery, a little bit more than that now, thanks to the rate of recharge in these 2026 cars. Strees is going to be 700ths of a second down, so he loses a significant chunk of time through the middle sector. As will he carry on, or will he be into the pit lane? This one he will carry on. He's now using it. No, he won't. He will go into the pits. And FC2 Lucas, by the way, his teammate has put himself into second fast as well, 107.890. So FCT going to have a pretty solid average at the moment. VMV, neither of them pushing. That is penultimate runs done for now. And then it will be those final runs in a few moments' time that we will be seeing as a Mercedes goes out into the pits. Goes out onto the track. That is going to be Heiser once again coming out onto track for another lap here. Let's see. Does Lucas MS carry on? Nope, he is going to be into the pit lane. Okay, so waiting now. WRL Luke. It was Heiser coming in. Sorry, WRL Luke. Now out onto the track, and he's just going to go slowly, try and prepare his car for that final run. Maybe a double out lap coming here, based on the time that he has come out at, or it could be a push-call push. I mean, we saw Claudio Diaz do push-call could push very successfully in that first session. We'll see what the second qualifying session brings. Panos saying, don't forget to subscribe if you're on Prime. He's a poet and he doesn't even know it. But anyway, yeah, if you have a Twitch Prime sub, ladies and gentlemen, make sure to use it here at SKG. It helps the league out massively, and I'm sure we would most definitely appreciate your support, and I'm sure the drivers would as well. But the performance and the show they put on every single week is now WRL Luke putting on a show through the first couple of corners, now using that battery, getting himself towards the end of the first sector, and he is 600ths of a second down at the moment, nearly 700ths of a second down, so a little bit of time to gain for him. Yeah, a little bit of work to do through this middle part of the lap. If you're going to gain any time, this is probably where you can find it. It's the section with the most corners, the section that challenges the drivers the most. As now that right-hander, WRL Luke, maybe not quite spotting the apex quite as well as he would have liked. He's not up to the line. He will come. It's going to be a 400th of a second improvement at the moment. But what about for the final sector? He's got a decent chunk of battery, but I think he's going to run out relatively quickly. As up to the line, he will go now. He's still actually got battery. He runs out now up to the line. It's going to be a 107.929. That's, oh no, he invalidated actually, it appears. The WRL Luke, where did he invalidate? I actually didn't see that. Yeah, I didn't see that, but it was that he'd invalidated that. That is my bad. But he still has time for one more. He can cool the car. Yeah, I know the map went red. I wasn't looking at the map. I'm just a bit of an idiot, you know. Anyway, the VMV can't now. Onto his next lap, his final lap, and it's 3 tenths down. That is not going to be good enough for the MV car. He's probably not going to be improving if he's nearly 2.5 tenths down at the moment. WRL Luke is probably going to get round to do one more. What about Strees here, making his way through the middle sector? Go now to this camera. He's got his teammate of Lucas just behind him, but not within slipstream range, of course. Now towards the end of the middle sector, we'll get a live reading on what Strees is doing. He's a 10th of a second down. That's not going to be what he needs to improve. And he was briefly on the recharge, and I don't think he is going to be improving. No, he is going to peel into the pit lane. And that will be that for him. As now, what about his teammate Lucas MS? The 107.779 goes faster than his teammate, and that is a very good average for FCT there. It's a very, very consistent duo that they have put out. What about WRL? He was 5 thousandths of a second down provisionally. The two VMVs have finished. They will not be improving any further, so it's just the two WRLs left to go in this one. And what has Heiser produced here on this final lap is up to the line. He will come, still a little bit of battery left to go, and up to the line to 108.0. Not faster for him there. Not an improvement. And WRL Luke will not be improving either. So that, ladies and gentlemen, is the end of this second session. And it is FCT topping the proceedings in this second session. Hopefully, when the next session begins, I will have a live, I'll have an update for you on how things stand. I'm gonna, in a few moments' time, get a read on the Google document, or the Google Sheet, sorry, and then you will have a update on how things are going. There we go. Just a quick recap. It's FCT Lucas fastest. His teammate Strees only 1300ths of a second slower. WL Heiser is in third with a 107.901. It's VMV Leo fourth, Cart fifth, and then WL Luke in sixth place. Slowest of our runners here in this session. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we will have not only the third session of the SKG Pro Series qualifiers, but we will also have an update on how the standings look for the teams qualifying. So, ladies and gentlemen, don't go anywhere, and we will see you in a few moments' time. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back, and I have some information to bring you. We have the updated standings. So ETA, of course, Cena did not set a lap time in the first session. He is going to be in this next lobby qualifying, so he will get the opportunity to do the lap times that he didn't before. So ETA do not have an average yet, but we do have the averages for everyone else. So as things stand at the moment, it is VLS Velarus Esports, so Salva Romero and Claudio Diaz were 107.5 exactly. That is the best average we have had so far. VRM with an average of 107.777. Xenix F1 with an average of 107.699, so barely better. It's FCT with a 107.786 average. And then we have VMV with an average of 108.050, and then WRL with an average of 107.991, and that is how things stand at the moment, ladies and gentlemen, as we now dive in to the next qualifying session. That lap time, as Cena has left again, so connection issues or something potentially, but this is not going well for ET8. This is worrying for ET8 now, because there's only so many lobbies left for them to for Cenan to try to get it. And of course, if he can't get back in and do a time, that will go down as a zero, go down as a did not qualify. DNQ, however you put it. So they really need Cenan to sort his connection issues out, or whatever is pestering him at the moment, and get out onto the track, which is what we're going to do, because we were just sat in the pit lane whilst I was talking, and we are with Thomas Baser now for GT10. In this session, we have IRT, TES, GT10, and then we have the one ET8 who has just left, unfortunately. So some issues plaguing Cenan at the moment, but it is the McLaren of Thomas Baser now. He's going to come across the line to start the first lap of the session. Let's see what has he got in his locker. It's through turn one. He goes, spotting the apex. Oh, that's a spin. It's a big snap. It's a half spin. He manages to catch it, but that just got on the power a little too early. Bit too trigger happy on the throttle. And that is the result, ladies and gentlemen, as he gets out of the way now. That was a very big snap of oversteer there. He just about managed to keep it and not go into the barrier like we saw Oscar Piastri, Branco, I believe it was Colapinto as well that did it last year at that section at Spa, I believe. So yeah, there we go, as it will now be Noah Raza who will be the first to set a time of the session. Makes his way now through the middle set to that corner, of course, where Lewis Hamilton and Alex Albon crashed in 2020. There won't be any crashes in a qualifying session, hopefully, but that is what that corner is most memorably and remembered for in recent history. As up to the line will come Noah Raza to 107.6. That is a very good banker. That's the best banker we have had so far this session, I think. As IRT Willow now up to the line, 107.960 for him. And now Noel Gustrine puts in a 107.8 as well. Robin Langensbush, puts in a 108.179 there. And then Yoluz Jr. puts in a 108.894. He needs a little better than that to qualify here. And then, of course, Cenan is not in the session. So that's the first runs done. Is anybody going to opt for a push-call push? I would imagine not for a first run, but we will see. But I've got to say, that is a very good banker from Noah Razor. A 107.6 is very strong for a banker. That's the fastest banker lap we have seen in this session so far, and only 3/10 off our fastest so far today. So TES at the moment looking to have a pretty strong average for the first runs of this session. And Seenan has managed to get back in the session. Good. Seenan is back, ladies and gentlemen. But he will get to set a time, at least, as we will ride on board for it. Finally, Seenan gets to set a lap time, and ET8 can try and push forward and qualify for the Pro Series for another season. Of course, they were qualified last season. They will be trying to do that once again. It's a 17-2 in the first sector. Purple to the first sector, apparently. Oh my god, holy lag. Yes, you can see why Seenan is having connection issues, because that is the state of his car on my screen at the moment. So yeah, there is clearly some severe connection issues for ET8 Seenan here. That is something he'll be looking to try and fix, as now Thomas Baser doesn't look to be pushing. No, he's not. So what about Seenan here? Up to the middle sector split. He will go now. Oh, well, I can tell you he's not on a 17.2, because that'd be the fastest lap time of Brazil ever. That is the system glitching. As up to the line comes Seenan, and it's a 108.218 there. It's sixth fastest at the moment for ET8. The Tubi, but in a relatively solid lap time in that first session, and hopefully Seenan can get close and match it. Is now. That is Yolas Jr. overtaking Noah Razor to the Williams, and the TES driver letting the GT10 of Yolus just go ahead. No rush at the moment. There's still just over 11 minutes left in this qualifying session, so plenty of time to do something. So you can afford to have a slow outlap here, as now on board with Noah Razor then. Let's see what he's got in his locker. We'll keep a loose eye on GT10 Yolus as well, but Noah Razor, the man currently fastest in this session, is the one we want to watch. What is he going to be able to do here? Of course, raced last season in the Pro Series, and he'll be trying to qualify once again for TES, as he's 400ths of a second down at the moment, so maybe it was magic on the first lap. As up to right-hander he goes, just a downshift, and then a double downshift, and then now making his way down to second gear, flicking it in. Now through this left-hander nice and cleanly, get a nice exit. Slight bit of correction there through that corner, but got through relatively unscathed. And now towards the end of the middle sector he goes, the second sector. Let's see, he is 17 thousandths of a second up at the moment. So it's not too bad for him thus far. And now to the line comes Noah Razor. Is it going to be an improvement? Yes, it is. It's a 107.618, 200ths of a second faster than his previous best. His teammate Noel Gustrain is not going faster. What about IRT Willow? 300ths of a second up in the middle sector. What about here? As we head towards the end of the middle sector, what can he do? Now up to the timing we go. He's 600ths of a second down, though losing just under a tenth of a second in that second sector. And now to the line he will go. Will he peel into the pits, or will he continue the lap? He will continue, and to the line he goes. He matches. He goes up to third place, and I believe he actually matched his previous best there. I have never seen somebody match their lap time in a qualifying session. So now we'll go to Robin as we see him off track ever so slightly there. Now we'll watch him through here. He goes well off track there. Oh, he manages to not invalidate though. I'm surprised that was not an invalid lap time actually, considering how far off track he was, but it is still valid according to the game, so he will carry on. Now maybe taking a little bit too much curb through there. Now towards the end of, he's 2.5 seconds down. He is not pushing, so we will head to ET8 Xenon here in this one. And we just, this lobby, okay, I think the lobby's bugged because sector times are just straight up not working for me. They're just straight up not working. They're telling me wrong things, and then it just didn't tell me a sector time for Xenon there. So we can't rely on that, unfortunately, for telling data, unfortunately. But that is the wonderful game that is F1 25, where there is always a new bug popping up, it feels. Now up to the end of the middle sector, Xenon goes just this left-hander left to contend with, and the game still telling us wrong data. We're not going to have a proper read, but he is purple through the first 2 sectors according to the track map. We will see. It's bugged clouds, unfortunately. Up to the line, 108, 218. It told me a 104. It's a 107, 778. It told me a 104, which I knew was wrong. He does get up to second, and that is a much better time from him. But the it's bugged is the best way to put it. It's very, very bugged, the timing screen right now. I'm not sure, Danny. I'm not sure. Now, the T10. I'm sure they probably have the AI turned down to counteract things like that. I mean, you can take a quick look, please. I know I can't get into AI. I was going to try and check the AI, but we can't go into it, unfortunately. If they, well, then the AI is too good if they can set a 0.7. That's what I was thinking, yeah. But, I'm sure they have the AI turned down, if I had to guess, to counteract things like that. AI is 90, so oh yeah, so that wasn't AI then. That's you can rule that out immediately. Because if 90 AI is doing a 107.7, then God knows what a 110 is doing. Anyway, moving to GT10 was 500th, half a second, oh not half a second, sorry, half a tenth up on his previous best through the first sector. Now, can he match that or go even better through the middle section? And he's 400th of a second up, so losing just about 100th, not too bad. Matching his previous best pretty much to a T. As up to the line now comes GT10 Yolus Jr. And it's going to be a 107.942 for him there. Only 400th of a second off his teammate in Thomas Bowser, sorry. Yeah, Thomas Bowser, okay. And now on board with Robin Langenbush. And he is not improving at the moment. As Noah Raza, wow, puts in a 107.506. That is a good lap time. And it's not far off the best we saw from Claudio Diaz in that first session. It's only about a tenth or so away, just over. So not too bad there from Noah Raza. That is a very strong time. And TES are another one of them teams which look like they're going to have a very strong average in this, at the end of this. He's now on board with Noel G-Strain as he invalidates his time there. Now Robin Langenbush. Let's see what he can do. Oh, sorry, he did go faster. He did a 107.8. Now we'll go to Thomas Bowser as he begins his next run of the session in the McLaren, representing GT10 here. Through turn 3 he goes, and he is backing off from that, so he is not going to be going faster, and I believe that is going to be everyone done and dusted for the next runs, other than ET8 Senan, who is running on a bit of a weird timing here. And the timing is still bugged, so it's telling me he's on an outlap, which is false. I believe. There we go. Well, the way the battery's draining, you can tell he's not on an outlap, that's for sure. But that's what the game has decided. The lobby is a little bit bugged for spectator mode, I think. As we'll now see what he does up to the line. Now will come Senan. And with Tachubi setting a similar time, up to the line comes the RB. And it was not an improvement. He did not go faster there. That will be the end of that for him. What about Thomas Balser? 400 per second, nearly half a tenth improvement through the first sector. Really nice turn number 4, keeping it just within the confines of the white lines. Now he'll flick his way through the right-hander. Now just recharge a little bit of battery, a little bit deep there potentially, but looks like he got the car stopped and straightened pretty nicely. And this has looked really hooked up so far for Thomas Balser. Now to the split. Will it tell us? Yes, it will. It's 600ths of a second up, which would put him past Robin Langenbush and Senan here in this session. So it could be all important in qualification. Every thousandth matters when it's average lap time, and it's a 107.828 for Thomas Balser. He does go past Robin Langenbush, but not quite past Senan there. And now, riding with IRT Willow on what is going to be a preparation lap, it would appear. Just prepping his car for one more go. That's all he's going to have time for, is one more attack of this course, of this circuit. 2.6 miles for him to try and lower his average as far as he can. Here we go then, for IRT Willow. This is it. This is the one. Turn 1 he goes. Flicks it through. Gets it stopped. And now on the power, on the battery. Staying tight to the curb. Using it quite significantly. And towards the first sector split. He is 100th of a second down on his previous best. He needs to find a little bit more through the middle sector. But that looked pretty decent through there, so Willow looking pretty strong at the moment, but he needs more. He'll keep pushing for more, and the question is, can he find more? Because that is what matters here. Every single thousandth is important, and these drivers will push to find every single millisecond that they can. And Willow finding a tenth of a second in the middle sector. That's much better. Getting on the power now, draining the battery towards the line for the IRT driver. It's going to be an improvement, hopefully, up to the line. So 107.870 does go faster, up to 5th, 4 thousandths faster than his teammate, who's not improving, as Noah Raza puts in a 107.4. Fantastic stuff from him. Fantastic from him. Noel Gustrain puts in a 107.6 as well. Senan on an outlap is not going to be able to have an opportunity to improve. Thomas Balser, I'm pretty sure, is not going to be improving either. Nope, he's 6 seconds down. So there we are, ladies and gentlemen. That is going to be the end of the third session And of course, TES will have the best average of this session. ET8 will also have a very strong average. We will get those numbers in a few moments' time. There we are, ladies and gentlemen. One final recap of qualifying session number 3. It's Noah Raza on pole by a 10.5. Noah Gustrain, his teammate, in second. Seenan with a 107.777. That's a lot of sevens there. Thomas Balster, fourth, 107.828. IRT Willow, 107.870. Robin Langenbush, a 107.874. GT10 Yolos Jr., 107.942. And then I forgot to read Noah Raza, 107.492. And then a 107.647 for Noah Gustrain. There we are, ladies and gentlemen. That is the end of the third session. We're going to take a short break once again. We'll be back in a few moments' time with the averages from the third session and a little bit of information. So don't go anywhere. We'll be back in a few moments' time. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are going back in a few moments' time. But before that, we are going to bring you the latest times, latest times from that session, if they are updated. I'm just trying to get that on the spreadsheet, see if we have this, which it appears that we do not just yet. We don't have that data yet, unfortunately. We are going to have to wait a little while for that to come, but once we do have that, those numbers, I will bring them to you as soon as I get my hands on them. But for now, let's go to the qualifying session, shall we? Because we have 18 minutes with new drivers. We have VZN. We have Seanan doing one more lap, apparently, because he's still lagging. Apparently, from what I saw in the Pro Series chat, he gets one lap and then he is done, according to Panos. And then we have FRT, Axel, HLR, Spezzy, Newt G. I've just got to try and work out who he is driving for. Gabor Xontos, HLR Luca, HLR Spezzy. Let me just... I'm just going to get this up real quick, see if we... see if I can... Driving for... Okay, lobby number 4. It is UFRT, which is Ultimate Formula Racing Team. That is who he will be driving for today. UFRT. For him. Now go on board with Neo Stein. First on track at the moment, and on our timing screens as well. We just have this session and then one more session afterwards to go, ladies and gentlemen. And from there we have some final results for it. Gabor Xontos in FRT. Yep. He is in FRT, yes. is driving the Alpine, which is FRT in this session. Okay, here we go. They're going to go with Neo Steins, who will set the first lap of the session. Towards turn number 1 they go. He goes. Flicks away. Corner. Really important just to set a good banker. Get a time on the board. So then if you mess up the rest of your session, you at least have 1 lap on the board. Because now was not too bad from Neo Steins through there. Now they'll be on the recharge through this next section. Now working his way towards the end of the middle sector. Let's see what he does when we come towards the split. The 51.636. That is pretty competitive compared to the times we've seen so far. A little bit of a slide through that final braking zone, but now it's up to the line using his last little bit of battery. And now Neo Steins will cross the line and it will be a 107.840. Decent banker for him there. Next will be the 2 RBs. It will be Luca first at 108.0. Then it will be Spezzi, who puts in a 107.807. And then it will be Newt G, who is invalidated. Lumi will start his first lap. And Gabor Kazontos starting a lap as well. But he has used a huge portion of his pack already. A huge portion of his battery has already been used. That's the Cadillac getting out of his way there. So a little bit of a recharge needed for Gabor through here, because he does not have that much battery in comparison to others. As now to the braking zone, 53.188. That is not all that competitive actually, if I know. He's probably not pushing too hard. Now, he's already run out of battery and he will come into the pit lane here. He'll fly into the pits and that will be the end of his lap. What about Viazen Lumi? We call him Looney then. He's not Looney, he's Lumi. Up to the line. He will go. It'll be a 107.917, third fastest at the moment. What about Axel for FRT here? He will stay tight to the line. Newt G puts in a 109.0. Axel puts in a 108.131 there. Not too bad for him. What about Newt G? Not pushing. That is him done. It doesn't appear Seanan is coming out onto the track at the moment. Okay then. Gabor Bontos now coming back out onto the track. Neo Steins back out as well. These two, the first two to come out for their second runs of the session. Still 12 minutes remaining in this one, so plenty of time left for our drivers in this one. I gotta say, I wish you could get rid of the logo in the bottom left-hand side of the screen. Blocks something. Get rid of it. But anyway, that's not important. What is important is Gabor Fontos and Neo Steins' lap times here. Here we go, on board with Gabor Santos. Let's see what he can do now. He saved a lot more battery up in comparison to what he did previously. 17-1, that looks much more competitive in comparison to his previous time, and it's purple in the first sector according to the game data. Whether you trust the game data or not is up to you. Through the left hander goes towards turn number 11. Head up to the final braking zone of the lap 51.684. That's a big snap of oversteer. He's going to have lost 4 or 5 tenths of a second there because of that. That was a huge snap of oversteer, and that has completely cooked his lap, and he will come into the pits and he will not finish that one there. What about HLR Luca? He will not. He is not on a lap at the moment, or at least a push lap, I should say. What about Spezzi? Fastest man in the session is not going faster at the moment. 0.06 of a second down on his banker lap. But he needs a little bit more in order to go faster, and he will peel into the pits as well. So people struggling to improve in this session, and Lumi invalidates his time. He was 200 of a second up, but he invalidates once again. So that is the end of his current run. Qualifying sessions now. Axel, 300th of a second improvement in comparison to his first lap. Fuji has invalidated, but is only Axel on a representative lap at the moment, I believe. Now he's a tenth of a second down compared to where he was, so he's losing time in that middle sector. So struggling ever so slightly, and he will carry on to finish the lap, but he has run out of battery. Up to the line, 108, 103. He does improve by 0.03 of a second, so there is still time to gain on his lap for Axel, but how much of it can he gain on his next lap is the question. Then we have Neo Steins and Gabor Santos on outlaps, with Neo Steins coming to the end of his outlap at the moment. Here we go then. Neo Steins starting his next of the session. One attacking the apex really nicely, keeping it valid through there, and now battery once again. Seems like it's a really crucial part of the lap to use your battery in, and he's 5 thousandths of a second down at the moment, so pretty much matching his previous best in the first sector, and of course he still has 2 sectors of pushing to do even more. He's only for 33 thousandths of a second slower than Spezzi at the moment. Of course, the average lap time is what matters here. So we will see him and Lumi together really close at the moment. They will probably have, at the moment, have the best average in this session. Now a tenth of a second up for Neo Steins. That would be enough to put him on to provisional pole. Our fastest in this session, as I say, like Gabor Santos goes into provisional pole, 107.797. Good lap time from him there. Neo Steins goes even faster, a 107.632. Great time from him. And that is the fastest of this session so far. Spezzi is not improving. What about Lumi? Lumi's not improving either, according to the game. Luca now starting a push lap on this one then. What can he do? as that white bull, that white racing bull, makes its way through first sector, and he has invalidated. Unfortunately, no, that isn't. He's not. What about Newt G? What's he doing? He's over a tenth and a half down on his previous best at the moment, so no one going faster. As things stand, Steenan has come out of the pit, so this will be his last run. This will be his do or die, if what I read in the chat is the case. It says he's still on an outlap, but that's not the case. He is pushing, as you can see. We're unfortunately not going to get any data from him due to it. Through. So apparently, according to the data up top, his lap time started at the middle sector. That's just wrong, but there we go. Now making his way through this section. Looking pretty good at the moment. Just under 5 minutes to go now. 4.5 or so minutes left in this session for people to get their average lap time down. By the way, Spezzy went faster, and oh, the Alpine of Axel has just ghosted through him. I think Seanan is on a double outlap. It's telling me in the top right that his looks like AI driving. Yeah, I think so. But it's telling me in the corner that his lap time's still going, which it's not. So that's very bugged. Anyway, let's move off him. Is anybody else pushing at the moment? Axel is not. Keenan obviously is not. So no. No one at the moment is on a lap. That's yeah, it is his AI driving. Yeah, for sure. I'd fought it, but sure. Used a lot of battery, but I'm really confused why it's telling me that he's doing a 17. The data is really not having a fun time on Seanan's car. But yeah, we saddle up now for the final runs of the session. Everybody going to be into the pits getting ready for their last one of the session. 10 for the second improvement for Lumi there. 107.754. The top of the pile at the moment between Neo Steins and Spezzy, only separated by 6 thousandths of a second. I think this only occurs when a car is on AI. I have never known this to mess up though. What? Yep, okay. He's just ghosted off the track. I think he's just disconnected or something. Because he's just disappeared into the shadow realm of the pit. This must be a new bug with the 26 cars then, because it didn't do this with the 25 cars. So I don't know, but he got banished to the shadow realm by the game. Here we go then. Lumi coming across the line. Going to start his final run of the session. Potentially, unless he messes this one up. And he probably will have time to do another. As Lumi spins. Can he keep it out of the wall? He hits it with his rear wing. Has he sustained rear wing damage? I don't know. But that was scary for him. Whether he's managed to not sustain rear wing damage or not, we'll see. But he did manage to keep his front wing out of the damage or off. No, is damage off? Fair enough. If damage is off, then fair enough. But yeah, that was a bit scary for Lumi. As Neo Steins puts in a 107.629, 3 thousandths faster. But Spezzy is responding. He was over half a tenth up in the first sector, and now we'll get his middle sector split in a few moments' time. It's these two at the moment for the fight for the fastest, and Spezzy is still just over half a tenth up on his previous best, and he's going to get an ever so slight slipstream off of the Cadillac, who will then get a slipstream off of him. As up to the line comes Spezzy, 107.584, fastest of the session. And now we'll see what happens with the rest of the flock. HLR Luca was 100th of a second up in the first sector. We can't see for Axel whether he was faster or not. Newt G went 0.3 of a second faster there. And it looks like he's pushing to go on to another lap, as we'll get his split in a few moments' time. Nope, he's 1.2 down, so he will not be going faster. Seenan is back out on track. He's managed to get back in the session. As Gabor Xontos retires from the session. And it looks like it is potentially AI driving again. Or Seenan, we'll see. But even his battery is lagging. I can tell you he's not going to do like a 104 here. Or 102 even. As up to the line. He puts a 107.703 in the end. So that is his best. I believe that's his best he's done all night. HLR Spezzy obviously has already done his time. And that is going to be everyone finished here, ladies and gentlemen. Here we are, final results of session number 4. It's HLR Spezzy first with a 107.584. Neo Steins second for VZN with a 107.629. Gabor Xontos third with a 107.692. Seenan for ET8 finally getting the lap in with a 107.703. VZN Lumi with a 107.754. HLR Luca with a 107.967. Axel for FRT with a 108.053, and Newt G for UFRT with a 108.413. Okay then, ladies and gentlemen, so we're not quite gonna go for a break just yet. We're gonna go to track map. I'm just gonna let that play, and I am gonna try and, whilst we're here, find out what the averages for the last session were, if they have been updated, which yes they have. So IRT, ladies and gentlemen, their average was a 107.872 between Robin Langenbush and Willow, and then it was TES Noah and Noel with a 107.570, and then GT10 which was Yolas Jr. and Thomas Bolser with a 107.885 85 average, I believe. And then who was that other one? That was all the teams in that session. Okay, so, and then obviously Seenan as well, whose time will now be added alongside his teammate Tachubi. Okay then, ladies and gentlemen, so that is that. We're going to take a quick break, and we will be back for the final qualifying session in a few moments' time. See you in a moment. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are back for one last session, ladies and gentlemen, and hopefully my computer will hold out. My computer is running very, very hot, and my game has just crashed 3 times in the interval. It's up and running now, so hopefully it lasts for the next 18 minutes, and then it can crash for the rest of the evening if it wants to, as long as it holds out for the next 20 minutes. On F125. As long as that works, then whatever happens, happens. So yeah, I spent most of the time fighting my PC to try and get the game running. Every single time I joined Panos, my game just crashed. And then I felt my PC and I was like, oh, it's very hot, which is probably what's causing it, because it doesn't usually do this. So, yeah, hopefully it holds out, but we have a qualifying session to talk about. One last one, ladies and gentlemen. Session one more. Then we will know the teams who have qualified for this season's SKG Pro Series, which begins next week, ladies and gentlemen. It is going to be next week. Now on board with FVR, Giovanni Kennis. Oh yeah, and just to say, it is FST, FVR, TTN, and AERT in this session. At the moment, those are the drivers. Those are the teams taking to the field for one last session. So here we go. On board with Giovanni Kennis, there's a yellow flag in the final sector. You don't want to cause a yellow flag in an active aero zone because it disables active aero everyone in the zone. So you don't want to cause yellow flag there. I think this is just going to be a recon lap for Giovanni as he actually invalidates. So next will be one of the TTNs, and it is going to be Felix 1, who will be the next of these drivers. See him making his way through the middle sector. Apparently the most advanced of those at the moment on laps. D'Amico going to be next behind him. Now we go on board with Felix 1:52.305 in the middle sector. Purple, of course, because he is the first through that section. Set of valid lappers up to the line now. Will come Felix 1, and it is going to be a 1:08.460. Adrian Andrasov puts in a 1:07.8. D'Amico puts in a 1:07.768 there. So the two FSTs running absolutely together, and then FVR Snack puts in a 1:07.665. Those times just getting faster and faster here in this one. Giovanni Kennis on another lap here. He's carrying on now through this sector. As apologies if you missed any, I'm pretty sure there was ads there. So apologies to anyone who missed the first runs. That should be the last ad break of the show, hopefully. That's a 51.573 through there. Giovanni Kennis looking very strong at the moment. Up to the line. He will come, and it's looking pretty decent for him up to the line. It's going to be a 1:07.725. Second fastest at the moment, and only 600ths off his FVR teammates. So FVR looking very strong. FST very, very close, bringing up the rear though. Less than a tenth and a half separate, just over a tenth and a half, sorry, separates the top four. So very, very close between these guys at the moment. Now we will go to Sly Suzuki, puts in a 1:08 107.650 there. Okay. That is everybody's first runs of the session done, ladies and gentlemen. Now wait for the next ones to begin. Yes, we'll pull into the pit as we'll Sly Suzuki in a few moments' time. But it is going to be the TTN, Sly Suzuki's TTN teammate of Felix 1, who is coming out of the pit lane. As you see there. Okay then. Felix 1 will be the next to start the second runs of the session. Okay, here we go then. Turn number 1. And now, towards the end of the first sector, what has he produced? It's a 600th of a second improvement there, so pretty good stuff from Felix 1. Going to be the Red Bull of AERT Caden on that, finally putting in a push lap after not really putting in a representative time on his first run. As now, how is Felix 1's progress? 2 tenths, nearly 2.5 up on his best, so doing getting himself a little bit higher up, but he's going to need more than that because he's still going to be 2.5 tenths off of AERT Boaty, who is in P5 at the moment, as we now ride with AERT Caden, who will be the next to cross the line. As Caden had a massive lag spike there that goes into P number 2 with a 107.697. So, second place for him at the moment. ERT's drivers separated by just over 2.5 tenths of a second as things stand. Okay then, FVR Snack is not pushing. Giovanni Kennis is not pushing. Adrian Andrasov might be pushing, I can't tell. Demaiko, not sure either. He's not got much battery though if he is pushing. AERT Boaty will come across the line to start another lap here. Here we go then. Into turn number 1. .4 of a second down on that 107.948 that he currently rests with. That's Sly Suzuki, 2.5 tenths up on his best. Still going to be slower than his TTN teammate at the moment. Now, up to the line, here we go. Going to be a 108.344. 3 tenths of a second improvement. Just under a tenth slower than his teammate Felix 1. Giovanni Kennis half a tenth improvement through that first sector. And now improving by a tenth of a second. And now he still has this final stretch of straight to go. Has he saved more battery than the previous lap? As up to the line goes to 107.567, and he goes into P1 just under a tenth faster than his teammate Snack, who is P2. So FVR at the moment looking to have a very, very solid average as things stand. As now no one is pushing. 7 minutes to go then. Nobody on a push at the moment. Okay, then Felix won. Starting another lap here, actually used quite a solid chunk of battery, but he will gain it back through these first couple of corners, and now we'll get on the power. Towards the end of the first sector, he will go, and it is going to be a 17.219 and 700 of a second faster than his previous best. So they are going quicker. TTM, but they're going to need more than that because they are still 0.3 of a second slower than 6th place, which is AERT Botti, sorry, who is on a 107.948. And then he's 0.2 slower than Demaiko and Adrian Andrasov, who are for FST. So yeah, need more. They need more. Is now up to the line. We'll go Felix. He is a tenth of a second up, so he is still finding time. But how long will that last? Is up to the line. He goes now 108.177. Lost a bit, about half a tenth in the final sector. What about his teammate Sly Suzuki? Not improving at the moment. What about Snack? Is not on either. He has backed out of his lap. Hayden, I think, has had a skirmish into the grass. By the looks of it. What about Adrian Andrasov? No. Demaiko, I can't tell. He saved a good chunk of battery. And up at the moment, and good chunk of a battery. Might be the most I've seen someone with, but it is draining. It's draining fast. But he still has battery all the way to the line. Up to the line he goes, 107.696, 300ths improvement. Not enough to quite get him past Snack, but it is enough to get himself past Caden by 1,000th of a second. Now Felix one hits, and then we'll start another lap here. Now up to the end of the first sector he goes, and he's half a tenth down on his previous best, so needs some time here. Does Snack if he wants to get the snag the fastest time of the session from his teammate Giovanni Kennis. I mean, I think with that average they should qualify. I think the cutoff for qualifying is probably going to be like a mid 107.7. It's wraps for IRT, I think. Yeah, probably. It probably is, unfortunately for them. Now, here comes FVR Snack up to the line. Has he found any time? Yes, he has. He finds half a tenth of a second to go, within half a tenth of a second of his teammate, Giovanni Kennis. And then it is Caden now coming on to start a lap. Whilst others are actually coming out of the pits at the moment, we might encounter a little bit of traffic on this run, potentially. Hopefully it will get out of the way for his sakes. Purple to the first sector for AERT Caden, so still finding a little bit of time. And the time he has found, of course, would be enough to put him past D'Amico. As now, what has Caden managed to produce here? He's a tenth of a second up. Very, very strong showing from him, and at the moment that would be enough to potentially challenge for pole position from Giovanni Kennis, but he doesn't have much battery left through here, but he will just about have enough. I think is up to the line he goes, and it is fastest. It's a 107.542. Can Giovanni, Snack, or D'Amico, or Adrian Andrasov, somebody put in a time now to dethrone the Red Bull and AERT of Caden? Felix 1/10 of a second down. What about Sly Suzuki? Can't see what he is doing, as Snack has retired from the session, and looks like Sly Suzuki is not pushing. His teammate is, though, by the looks of it. What he can do if he is up and improving on time through this middle sector, but I think they would need something massive now. Would TTN to take this one and qualify for the SKG Pro Series here. They need something truly special, which they, unfortunately, Felix 1 is not going to find. So here we go then, on board with Giovanni Kennis. Let's see what D'Amico is doing. We can't see what they were doing through the first sector, but we can see what Giovanni Kennis is doing, and he's half a tenth up on his previous best. So he is going to, as it stands, dethrone Caden from the fastest of the session. We are starting to get close now to that time by BLS in the first session. And we'll see if we can get past it even, maybe. As here we go, on board with D'Amico to the split. He is just under a tenth of a second, 900ths up at the moment, so that would be enough to get him past Snack, the FVR of Snack, who is not going to be improving because he has retired from the session. But what about D'Amico? Up to the line, it's pole, it's fastest, it's a 107.526. Adrian Andrasov puts in a 107.576. These guys are incredibly close. Giovanni Kennis can't go faster. Or sorry, he does go faster, but can't move up any places. So it's third for him, and we have 4 drivers separated by exactly half a tenth of a second. Wow, that is incredibly close. As now, here comes Botti up to the line, 107.9, does go faster by just under 300ths. But look at that top 4, ladies and gentlemen. That is close to a T. And then, oh, at the last, it is the Red Bull of AERT Caden, looks of it, who goes top once again. So Caden finding the time. Look at that, just stealing it away from D'Amico. A 107.516 from Caden is enough to take the fastest time of the session. The FST of D'Amico second, Giovanni Kennis first, third, Adrian Andrasov in fourth. 600 separating the top 4 is crazy close. Snack in fifth within a tenth. And then there's a bit of a gap to Botti, who is in sixth with a 107.920. Felix 108.177, and then Sly Suzuki with a 108.314. Caden coming in at the last and taking that time. We've had 2 hours of qualifying, ladies and gentlemen, 5 sessions, and plenty of incredible laps from our drivers. That is the end there, ladies and gentlemen. All will be revealed who has qualified for the SKG Pro Series in a few moments' time once it is all updated. But for now, we are going to go off air. It has been a very, very long stream. It has been 2.5 hours, almost exactly, just hit 2.5 hours on the timer. So this has been a very long one. So thank you all very much for watching. Thank you all for sticking with us, and I hope you enjoy round 1 coming up next week. Goodbye.